Everyone, and I welcome you to our last Diversity and Inclusion in the Minerals Industry webinar series. Today we're going to have Mark Munroe from Impala Rustenburg provide us with a beautiful presentation. But before we start, I'd just like to give a brief overview of Mark's CV. Quite long, so we'll try to maybe make it a little bit briefer, but Mark obviously is well known in the industry, accomplished mining engineer with in-depth knowledge of surface and underground mining in gold and platinum, and currently is the chief executive of Impala Rustenburg. His career spans over 30 years, and he's held positions as miner to GM, executive vice president, COO, CEO. So lots of experience, both underground and open cast, as well as capital projects, covering many commodities locally and internationally. Mark has previously served on the board of the Mine Health and Safety Council of South Africa. He is a member of the SIMM, Association of Mine Managers, and has advised the Minister of Mineral and Energy Resources on safety and other legislative matters since 2011. Mark holds a BTech from the University of Johannesburg and a BCom degree in economics from UNISA. Mark currently leads 40,000 people at Impala Rustenburg complex, comprising of 10 shafts and a concentrating and smelting plants. And over the last 2 years has spearheaded the turnaround of the operations that led to the savings of about 13,000 jobs. His vision of the mining industry is to ensure that it becomes people-centered business, focusing on what is invested into people and not only what can be extracted out of the ground or from the people. In order to propel the development of his people, he strongly drives the care and growth leadership model that aims to enhance the life experiences of all Impala employees by ensuring it is a place that they can grow, they can be safe, they feel respected, valued, and know they play a role in something far greater than just being at work. So I'm going to now hand over to Mark, who's basically talk about, in general, diversity and inclusion around Impala Rustenburg. Thank you. Over to you, Mark.
Stephen, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, now it's an honor and a privilege to talk on this subject that is very, very close to my heart. So let's kick right off with sharing the screen, eh? They said this would happen there. I think that's clear. Thank you for that, Stephen. I think when I joined Impala 2.5 years ago, I was in the unique position that the company was in a very difficult situation. And I think it recognized that whatever it had been doing would not ensure its future sustainability. So that means things had to change, and they had to change radically and dramatically, which meant that I had a complete blank canvas to work from. So prior to joining, after I had decided that I would be joining the company, I had the opportunity to sit back and decide how I would approach working for Impala. And the choice was quite simple. You know, either you go in there and you see how you can improve a business, which I didn't do. I thought that would not be the right way, because that would be working off a base that had already been set.
Mark,
so, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you just, you're still on the overview. Can you hit it to go into full presentation mode? To the slideshow?
I think that's where the problems start coming in, huh?
I'll lie to you, I always forget where you have to actually hit it.
Yeah, now you see on my screens it is on full presentation mode.
Next to the size button, right bottom. See if that doesn't do it.
Yeah, no, that's
The screen icon.
Is it on that now? It's not on that now?
No.
That is the challenge, huh?
Maybe at the top, maybe? Where the presentation screen is? Multiple choice?
How does that look?
No, no
it
change.
No change. Now, are you getting any change there?
Yeah, now we're in multiple screen. Say if you go onto multiple screens, you need to drag your presentation screen on. No, I don't think we need to do that. No. No.
Mark, are you working on 2 screens at the moment?
Yeah, I'm working on 2 screens. Yeah, on 2 screens.
Yeah, so you're going to have to drag it onto one of the screens.
Well, just use one screen and then just share your screen.
Yeah, that's easier said than done, eh?
There we go.
No, it's not.
Can you just look at my side?
Can't, it's not putting that off.
Just notice. I tried mine and I didn't use exactly that. Yeah, we tested it the same. Ask them now if they can see it. Otherwise, can I?
That worked. We saw it for a second there, Mark.
Yeah, it was fine. It was perfect for a minute.
For a second,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, a
Let's
second.
get there. How is that?
Perfect.
That's perfect.
Is that perfect?
Okay.
Excellent.
All right. Now we over back to
Good job. Okay. Thank you. So I think just to carry on, so really when I joined, I had the time to prepare my approach. And as I said, I had the opportunity to start at a base where Impala is and then determine, future points. So I chose not to do that. Instead, I sat down and I thought, what is the company I'd like to work for 10, 20 years from now? What company would I like to join? Where would I feel most successful? Where would I feel most challenged? And I drew up a picture of the company I'd like to work for. The dream company, the dream job. And I sketched that. And then when I joined the company, everything I did was about achieving that objective of mine. So it's rather thinking about the end in mind and then plotting a way towards that. And when we do our inductions for new employees and for ex-leaves, the one question that I ask the people is, so what company would you like to work for if it is not Impala? Tell me what scenario would you like to be put in? How would you like to come to work? How would you like to work? Where would you like to sit? And how would you like to interact with your colleagues in the perfect company? Now envisage that, sketch that, then document it, and then go about assisting me in achieving that for this company. So I think that's, if someone wants to think of where do they want to work, then they often want to leave a company and go join this ideal company that is out there in the world. And that is not how we should view it. We should view it, we're in a certain situation and we're in a certain company. We should rather go about and work together to make the future that we want. Okay. If we look at just what is Rustenburg and what is our company, I think we are a PGM producer. We process, mine and market high quality PGM products. But we recognize that everything we achieve is through teamwork and innovation. And that is a difficult statement to make. I think many companies do make it, but if you look deeper, we're still a deep level conventional platinum producer. And if you put the word innovation in there, you recognize that your mining method, your shaft structures, and your ore body is all a given. So where exactly will this innovation happen? Well, for us, this innovation happens is how we work with our people, how we treat people, and how we move on from there. So I think as Stephen covered in the introduction, Impala has about 40,000 people. We have 10 shafts, 5 declines, some capital projects, and we have 3 concentrator facilities, and we have smelter facilities. So that is the company. But now if we look at, remember what I said, the differentiator that we have, given that our shafts are sunk, our ore body is there, and remember, we're a conventional business. So what is the differentiator? How do you get a competitive advantage in such a company? Well, it comes down to the people, hey? And people's behavior and people's action. And if you group people's action and behavior together, you come up with culture. So we looked at our culture. Now, when we say culture, you can read there, the culture defines the way we do things here at Impala. It's our values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. But if you look, the deeper meaning of our company is we recognize that our company is about people. The way we treat, develop, grow, and demand accountability. Now, accountability is critical for any business. So how we demand this accountability from all our people at all levels is the heart of our culture. This is what makes us different. This is what makes us proud, actually, to be part of Impala. It is who we are every single day that makes us different. So we respect, care, and we deliver. The deliver aspect is critical, since no company or group of people or team can actually call themselves successful if they do not deliver. Now, that is unfortunately how society is drawn up. We operate a business, and there are certain deliverables. And surely, if you say you are successful as an individual in a successful team, you must eventually be able to show that you're able to deliver, which I'm proud to say Impala is doing very well at the moment. So you look at the 3 key elements there. We're a team, accountability, beliefs. And then the third point in the team is our diversity, our diverse teams. And then we take ownership of our business here. Working together, we recognize that when you run in the field, it is not good enough if you come and bring your B game to work every day. It is critical that every person comes to work and brings their A game. So when you run in the field, you must recognize that your teammates actually depend on you. And then to change our future. Given that we work in a business that is essentially a price taker still, what variables do we have to change our future? So when you come work at Impala, you must accept that your future is in your hands. Your future is in your hands as an individual, and our future is in our hands as a company. And we have to go that extra mile to change our future, to create our future. And to do that, you have to be able to learn, adapt, and grow. If we look at some of the strengths that we try to foster here, now the theme of today is diversity. So we strongly believe that through diversity, we are stronger and more competitive. If one looks at the opposite of diversity, and in today's society, many companies still exhibit the culture of dominantly white male, maybe white middle-aged males, but I'll probably be lying, it's not middle-aged, it's probably past middle-age. So we have to recognize that to bring about diverse thinking, we have to encourage people of all cultures, genders, and religions to bring their experiences and ideas to the table. Now, that is very difficult in a rigid environment like conventional mining. So it is not good enough that you simply recognize the diversity and allow it and tolerate it. It's critical that you actually put programs in place to foster it and encourage it and set people up for success with diverse thinking. So you can look at we have to understand, accept, and value the different cultures and thinkings, but we actually have to set up specific forums and venues where this thinking can come to the fore and impact our company. Now, in this, we must recognize that it's not only the ideas that come from the youth or the women in our company. It's not only those ideas, but it's the ideas that thinking will generate amongst the white males as well. So for myself, to mention a personal example, so I obviously have a set of ideas and a set of predetermined ways of working. And for me to engage someone like Nonku, who's on the panel today as a mine manager at Impala, is not only to get her ideas, but by speaking to her, she will actually trigger new ideas from me. So she'll be able to change my thinking, and then she'll be able to match her divergent thinking with my experience and age, let's say. And then we'll come up with new ideas together on how to take the company forward. So let's look at what we believe. Obviously now, it's not good enough that you simply get people with diverse thinking in your business. You have to structure it. So you have to analyze, how do you bring this forward, plan, engage, and then come up with these new and diverse thinkings and ways of working, and then implement, evaluate them, and see how you can improve. So it's critical that you actually change the existing culture to be able to incorporate other ways of thinking. It's not good enough that you simply bring in other ways of thinking. And one of the most difficult changes that we've had to implement here, and I must admit that I don't think we've achieved it yet. We still have a long way to go. But that's a culture of allowing people to make mistakes. So obviously in mining, mistakes can be critical and very expensive, and in some cases even cost lives. Obviously those we cannot tolerate, and there are certain rules that we have to stick to. However, if you don't allow people to do some trial and error and to come up with ideas that might not be workable, you will not actually solicit those ideas, and people will not give them. You have to create a culture where people can bring new ideas to the table. They might fail, and then people will learn out of that, adjust, and change going forward. So some of the active methods that we've used to bring about a diverse culture and a diverse way of thinking is obviously through education and training is the first pillar. And that's everything from how you structure your inductions. So every person joining this business must know that diversity is a key pillar that we drive in our company and that we embrace it. So someone joining that thinks that we can carry on doing things the way we always have, they must know they will be out of place over here. And that we make very clear in our induction, our training, our communication, how we manage our talent pipeline, and mentorship and coaching. I'll show you later what we've done in some of those areas. And we must remember, as we bring in, specifically as we bring in women into our business, we need to look at our infrastructure. That's all change houses, the work environment, ablution facilities. You need to actually have programs in place to go about transforming them. It can be costly, but I believe the benefits will significantly outweigh those costs. And then you have to create environments where this thinking can be brought to the top. It cannot stay buried underneath the surface. You have to bring that thinking out to the highest level in your business. So for that, we've got a gender equality forum. I think that's the correct words that we use. I like to also consider that as my personal advisory group. And in saying that, I recognize that I do not know much about gender equality. After all, I am a white middle-aged male. So, and we're renowned for not knowing much about gender. So it is critical that you have a forum like this to actually support your thinking and to challenge your thinking and to guide you on making the necessary decisions. And I think that's where a lot of companies get it wrong. They have these gender equality forums that come up with ideas, but the heads of these businesses don't view them as their personal advice. And you actually need to sit with that forum or those individuals and actually get some interesting ideas from those forums. Okay, a diversity and inclusion forum, HR forum, and community outreach groups. Obviously, we have to consider all the legal frameworks and comply with all of them. And really, it's one question to comply, but how do you go above and beyond? And I think in mining, it might be even more challenging because remember, the bulk of our workforce work in very, very difficult circumstances and in very physical environment. So to introduce women in that environment can be a challenge. And there are a lot of things that have to change to be able to accommodate women in that working environment. And then obviously your policies and procedures need to be adjusted. That's from your recruitment, your reward benefit, your development, your retention. And I'll explain later on what we've done in things like the retention, anti-discriminatory, and I mentioned the talent management and the mentorship. So if we look at where we are now, you can see we have 89% male employees and 11% women, and with 14% in middle management and higher are women. Now, clearly that's not enough. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see what we're doing to change that. Huh? Obviously, the mentorship programs are very key to that, as those allow us to focus on the women with talent and bring them to the fore and make sure any barriers to their progress are removed or adjusted so that they can learn and grow and fit in our company. But you can see from those bottom numbers, 40% of our current learners and learnership programs are women, 25% of our graduates are women in our graduate program, and 56% of our new bursaries are women. So you can see the feed into our business is strongly biased towards including females in our future state. And it's our belief that those bursaries, those 56% in our bursary program, will in years come to the ranks and feature in our senior management. You can see 19% of our learner minors are female. And then remember, each one of these individuals in these programs, they've been specifically identified with specific succession plans on how they'll develop themselves to become valuable to our industry and our business. We've also run retention programs to understand better what women like in our business and what they don't like in the business and what we can change going forward. Here are some of our successes. There's a nice photo of Nonko and myself. So Nonko was the first female mine manager at Impala. So we're very proud of her and her success to date. She's currently, interestingly, working at, I think, one of our more challenging businesses, although I won't tell her that. And we have the formal mentorship programs. As I've discussed them, we've had to rejig them. So we have taken the mentorship programs of old and we've reviewed them, adjusted them, and changed them to better suit our future view of the business. Obviously, our education campaigns for women, and we've run gender-based violence and diversity and inclusion programs. On the right-hand side, you'll see some of the activities we have. There with the orange balloons, that's Sean, our head of processing. That's at his gender-based violence diversity day that they had in the plant. This with the pink shirts, that's me. You can spot me, the only white guy in the group there with a pink shirt marching. That's on Women's Day. We had a march, not now during the lockdown, obviously. That was from the year before that, just to give women a voice. And then at the bottom right, you'll actually see the workshop we held to encourage women to say what is driving them away from our company and what do we need to change. They had this workshop. I think it was very successful, and a lot of good ideas came from that workshop. So benefits of diversity. So remember what I said, like, it's pointless me hiring more of myself and then having a meeting, because the ideas that I will get and the suggestions and the thinking that will come out of such a meeting will be exactly as I think. So it's critical to set up forums where I can change my thinking, number one, but number two, the company can generate all different ideas, different approaches, and therefore I think it's critical to note that, you know, it's not only about gender differences, but it's also about age differences. The youth thinks significantly different about life than what we do, and you've got diversity in religion, diversity in culture, diversity in gender, obviously. So there's many different facets to the human race, and I believe we have to harness all this different thinking. And there you'll see a theme there, hashtag the power of we. And I think if we all join together, all this diversity, you'll come up with different ways to solve problems. You'll enhance creativity. Your collaboration will be better. You'll be more innovative. You'd have a lower workforce turnover. And I think you'll just have a company that comes up with significantly more ideas. And if you've got more ideas, more of them will be successful in the future, and you greatly enhance the strength of your company going forward. So how do we get 40,000 team members to come up with their ideas and present them at high levels to be able to change and create the future we want in our company? As I said, we don't want 40,000 all of the same. We want 40,000 differences. I think there's a short little video of is it going to play? I think we want to play a video now, but I think that's not loading here. Okay, I think we'll skip that then. I think, Stephen, that is the presentation. Unfortunately, we're unable to show a short video of when we had one of the workshops with myself and some of the key leaders in the business regarding the female matters. But I'll hand this back to you now. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so for the audience out there, please, if you have questions, please put it on the Q&A tab. We have one question at this stage from Joseph, who's saying, looking into Click's recent saga, how will the cooperatives prevent the repeat of what happened to Clicks? In my view, there is fairly an element of diversity and inclusion at the board level of Clicks, yet they still failed dismally in their advert. What can we learn from the saga? How can we use diversity and inclusion to prevent this? So I think, yeah, maybe Mark, you can put that into, lessons perhaps learned from Clicks into the mining industry or Impala as a whole. Yeah.
No, I think the Clicks episode, there's a lot to learn from that. And I think given that Clicks had a fair amount of representation on its board and its ownership and throughout its structures and its advertising and marketing vetting committees as well, actually creates an interesting challenge for our society. Now, I think the answer is exactly as I've been saying now, it's not good enough that you actually have that representation at the various levels. It's also not good enough that you create environments where you listen to those diverse elements in your structure. So those are required, but that's still not good enough. I think it's very much like the gender-based violence issue. We have to create that environment and have the rules and procedures and policies and inclusion in the business. However, the real answer comes in you have to be able to influence the dominant mindset. And if your dominant culture is still white male, you have to somehow convince the white males of your company that it's in their interest, and that they have to have the skill to also be able to do it, that the interest that they look out for this type of issue. So in the click scenario, they would have come up with this advertisement. Now, whoever came up with this advertisement should have been on the lookout for these challenges, and they should have dealt with it there. So it's not good enough to say, well, me as a white male, I've done an advertisement and I think it's like this, and then you rely on someone else to adjust it or change it or vet it. That's not good enough. You actually have to catch the generation of such ideas, and they need to be fully aware of it. Now, in the mining context, you can create all these forums and the hiring and training programs and mentorship programs. That will not be successful. You have to be able to take the dominant white male general manager or chief executive for that matter, and infuse in them the idea that diversity is good for the company and good for society in general. Once they are on the lookout for all the pitfalls, then I believe you'll make progress in winning this battle. I think Clicks is a very interesting case study, and I think it'll be studied long. And I think a very unfortunate event, but I think there's good learnings that can come from this event to all other companies to critically analyze their own thinking and see how they can avoid these pitfalls in themselves. And I think they will come out that it's train the white males to be very aware of these issues as they arise and to counteract them before they occur, and not rely on having a black person or a woman or a young person on the committee, but they must actually take accountability for it themselves.
Thank you. Second question, Mark, probably a little bit easier. How do we contact, or who do we contact to get information on the formal mentorship programs?
Yeah, I think from the formal mentorship here at Impala, I mean, you can work through the human resources department. They do manage that, and the human resources would then create a link to the training department that would set you up with the correct mentor.
Okay, thank you. And then Mark from Gideon says, hi Mark, how do you remain focused on the real and genuine transformation and improvement related processes without getting stuck in merely complying to the various mining regulations that also promotes change and diversity?
Yeah, so I think that's the core of the issue, and it's similar to the clicks challenge. So we can all go about complying and having the representative forums in your business, but it actually comes back to adjusting the mindset, the critical mass, adjusting the mindset of the leadership in place at the moment. So we must recognize that in South Africa, we are not transformed. We are on a journey to transform, but we are not transformed. And only when you are transformed will this happen naturally in your business, that people become aware of it. So until the day that we are fully transformed in society, in South African society, we must recognize that it is essentially the white males that hold this power, and that if their mindset is shifted and their mindset is adjusted to ensure that diversity is encouraged, then I think you'll be successful. So I suppose it's when you hire your leadership, when you hire your next general manager, when you hire your next chief executive or EVP or COO, it's critical to make sure that they have that mindset that will encourage diversity and sees the value in that diversity. If you can't answer that to the positive, you will not be successful in making it a fundamental core element of your culture.
Yeah. I think as a follow-up, there's another question that's very similar to this, and Chris asks, do you have a strategy or a plan to incorporate your views about diversity and inclusion towards other stakeholders like your suppliers to ensure that your achievement of empowerment imperatives beyond the parameters of just Impala employees.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
but also benefit your stakeholders like your suppliers and others.
Yeah. I think we probably haven't rolled out our programs to suppliers, or we certainly give them access to all our standards, procedures, and programs. And then just in the 40,000 that we mentioned work here, 30,000 are Impala employees and 10,000 are contractors. So obviously what happens in the business incorporates everyone that is here. But I think we do have, I know we do have very specific programs to encourage gender equality in the ownership of the suppliers that we use. So we have key KPIs in the business that will foster and encourage our suppliers and contracting companies to promote women at very senior level. And in fact, then we insist on it. So you might get companies, supply companies that mention there's a couple of women on their board and their management structures. And then we go about interviewing them and questioning them to see, to ensure that they are making the decisions in the business and they're actively participating. So yes, from that point of view, we do. I think we could do a lot more, and I'll make note of it to drive that further. We have had also in society. I mean, obviously, Impala cannot be an island on its own in South African society. So we have had various discussions on the local radio stations regarding diversity, and in our Women's Month for the month of August, we also focused on diversity in society. We published various posters and campaigns outside of Impala, and as I said, on the radio as well. We had those programs, but I think we can certainly do more to influence society in general. And I suppose the ultimate answer is, well, I'm having this presentation, aren't I, to get out to the South African Institute of Mining Metallurgy. So definitely we recognize that we can't just drive what's happening in Impala, we have to look outside Impala.
Okay, another question from Philemon. Recently, the Luca community had a march where their challenge is employment. How do you respond to this matter?
Yes. No, I think South Africa is going through some significant challenges. The advent of the coronavirus has increased unemployment in society, and we all know the economic hardships that South Africa was facing prior to the virus. Now, post the virus, those economic challenges are even more severe. So we do recognize that the amount of unemployment in society has increased, and that poses a major risk to the company. Now, it's interesting to note that what exactly are the Luca community demanding here? I think, as you say, they're demanding employment at Impala. Well, that's a unique situation. You actually have people demonstrating so that they can work for you. I obviously recognize that that is brought about by the challenges outside of the company, but surely if Impala wasn't this successful and good at what they're doing, the people wouldn't be marching to us. They'd be marching to another company. I won't mention names, but they'd be marching to another company, or they'd be marching to the government, or they'd be marching to the various other industry forums or the municipality. But they are marching to us and asking for employment by us. So that is, in a bizarre way, that is a compliment to us in the way we've driven our business and the way we've been able to maintain the strength in our business through this difficult time. Now, I think specifically for Luca, I mean, I think we have employed a lot of people, and we do have significant amount of contract and supplier spend by the local community. And in that area, we actually surpass all the charter and SLP commitments that we've made in that area. And I think recently, well, definitely post the virus, or since the start of the virus, we've employed over 1,000 people. Now, I don't think there are any companies in this area, and maybe even not South Africa, that have employed over 1,000 people in the last 3-4 months. So definitely you can see that from a company point of view, we are very much aligned with what the government is intending to strengthen our country, to revive our country's economy, and to drive employment. So, I mean, I think obviously we need to, as step one, have a strong and successful company to be able to do this. And certainly that is top of our list.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Following question, Varsha has asked, what work is being carried out in relation to encouraging men in the working place or the workplace to support the fight for gender equality?
Now, I think that question actually summarizes what I've been saying. You know, on gender-based violence, it is the men that's the problem. On diversity, it's probably the white men that's the problem. So yes, you have to have all your other programs in place to support the woman, but you are so right in identifying that it is the men who are the perpetrator of this violence. So I think from that, you'll see that comes back to how we manage our line, and it comes back to that question of so how do you change the mindset of the dominant force? And I think that's where the core of the presentation was. If I don't have a different mindset, it'll not be successful. If the general managers, the male general managers, don't have a different mindset, then none of your programs will be successful. Now you can do that through various programs, inductions, training, and mentorship, as we do. However, it does stem from the top. So it does become core at our OPCO meetings and our EXCO meetings to foster the idea that, you know, diversity is actually a strength. If you have a diverse team, you will actually get more tons. And you as the man will be more successful in your career, in your personal life, and your bonus if you encourage diversity. And to encourage diversity, you recognize that you have to take away some of the inequalities that exist, and that's like the gender inequality, and eliminate gender-based violence. So I think we have to focus on, as we do, with changing the mindset of the male.
Thanks. A good follow-on question to this. Dembele asks, you know, what you're saying is well and good, but I'm concerned about balancing. The focus is more on women and developing them, but I'm worried about young men also out there, both black and white, that we seem to be perhaps leaving behind, and this could create a huge gap in the future and imbalance again. So I guess it's getting that balance right. Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I think the answer is very much the same as the previous, but you're right. So I think we do emphasize in our company that, you know, the more diverse your team is, the stronger you will be. And surely that must play to that young male, black or white. Maybe I mustn't say young, maybe middle-aged. Hey? We need to remember there's diversity in age as well, and sometimes you need the old people there. But you need to focus on them, and they need to see the power of diversity. I think if I look back in my career, I mean, my change happened when I realized that diversity is a strength. It makes life interesting and exciting, definitely, but also it allows you to become a lot more productive. So teams that are diverse actually will produce more as well, and be more profitable and successful. And so I think once your males understand that, they themselves will encourage this diversity and become the catalyst for the change. I mean, I think Nonku's on the line. Perhaps she could come in here and just give her view on this point as well. But I think 16 Shaft, where she works, maybe I should ask her general manager the question, but I think her shaft is so much richer and more successful because they have different thinking, because they have her on board. Hey? Nonku, I don't know if you want to come in there.
I can, Mark. Thank you very much. So yes, so I work for a middle-aged white man who is my general manager. The team is probably the most diverse across the entire operation, with myself on the management team. And the other mine manager is also a young, much younger white man, not so middle-aged, and also a young black man. and the technical services is a young white lady. So if you look at the mix, it's definitely, we bring something totally different from our colleagues in the other operation, because we've got different backgrounds, the age distribution. So there's the young and the old, the more experienced with the less experience. But because we all think different, we're all raised different, we're exposed to different things at different stages in our lives. It's definitely proved that we are a more resilient team. If you look at the successes that we've had in the recent months, it's definitely because of the diverse team that we are.
And I think it just makes life interesting. Because
No,
ideas
most
are different to mine. Thanks, Noam.
Mark, there's a comment here. Let me just read it. Ami will play the video at the end of the question. So for those that are, listening, we will play this video that you had, but at the end, we still have quite a few questions to go. But if you hang on for those, that we'll get a chance to play it. The next question, I think quite a few people have general questions like this. As a colored female with a legal background and an LLM in mining, how can I break into the mining industry, specifically sustainability and community engagement? What position should I be looking for? What skills should I be learning to and ensure that I'm relevant to the industry? And like I say, Mark, I think that's maybe not just that one, but I think many people might be asking, how can I get, how do I get into this game? And that seems to be changing and transforming and doing very well at the moment.
Yes. No, I think, just like the Looker community, there are many people that want to get in the mining industry and that want to get to Impala. I mean, I think, having marches or having thousands of CVs come your way can be daunting, but I suppose it is a reflection of the times, but it's also an honor to be in such a position and to be regarded as again, an industry of choice or a company of choice where many young graduates want to come work. So, I mean, my advice is obviously you need to prepare your CV, submit, and then go out of your way to make the links with the necessary players so that you can get on the on their radar. For example, I see this is someone with a legal background. So obviously we don't hire many lawyers, but we do have some. And from time to time, we do hire a new lawyer or give a young person an opportunity to help out for a time, so where they can gain experience. Now, I think recognizing that many of the young people coming up don't have that experience and skill. They might have the academic qualifications. So we've actually embarked on a few programs where we've brought a lot of interns in. I think in June, we hired a significant amount of interns into our business that we will take on board for a limited period, with the commitment that will give them experience and exposure to our industry where they'd learn the ropes. Obviously, we can't accommodate them in the long term in the future, but we'll be able to give them that experience. So we have those programs. We also have a program for our local communities called the Cadet Program, where we actually won't hire those people into a long-term program, but we will bring them onto our books for a period and train them and expose them. And then we'll as we've trained them, we'll bring in the next group and the next group. Now, to date, we've hired most of those people in our service once they've been through the Cadet Program. But I don't think it's simple, but definitely programs like the Cadet Program and the internships that we offer do give the youth the opportunity to gain experience in the industry, whereby they will get later on employment in the industry later.
As a follow-up, Francois asked a question, how do we balance, you're talking about jobs and all that, but how do we balance this diversity and enhancement versus losing skills in an environment where, 2 years ago we're retrenching, a retrenchment environment?
Yeah. No, I think, well, that's the success story at Impala, and I think that's the success of this Impala team. it was 2.5 years ago, we were going to retrench over 12,000 people over here. So it's not just about not retrenching people. The core driver of retrenchments or growth or downscaling is the success of your business. So if you can make sure your core business is successful and growing, then you won't retrench, then you'll hire. So yes, from 2 years ago, we were going to retrench over 12,000 people. We turned those minds around, and they're operating in a significantly better position. And of course, price of our product did help a lot. But we avoided retrenching 12,000 people. So I think that's step one. Make sure your business is strong, and then you won't retrench. Second, as your business gets stronger, you'll actually start hiring. And then when you hire, as you saw our bursaries, as you hire, you'll start growing. And then make sure all your growth in employment does come from diverse backgrounds and covers all the areas. And then if you carry on doing that, your business will change over time to one that is truly diverse. But yes, just like the local communities marches, we have to make sure our business is strong, and that will encourage us to or enable us to hire more people. If our business is weak, we cannot hire anyone.
Okay, thank you. And Vasha has asked, and I think it's a follow-on question to what you've been talking about, has the leadership framework you use at Impala been influenced by and I'm not aware of this, so I might not get the pronunciation right, Shitama Care and Growth Leadership Model? Yeah,
the Skaitama Care and Growth Leadership Model. The Care and Growth Leadership Model is actually a cornerstone. It's a cornerstone of our leadership framework. So it fundamentally goes about, through care and growth. How do you exhibit care and growth to your people and to your colleagues? It goes around creating the means, the ability, and accountability. So yes, it has. I mean, us as a leadership team, we actually have monthly lectures. All the general managers and myself, we have monthly lectures on the program. We've adjusted many of our standards, our policies, to mimic the care and growth leadership model. And everything from our discipline to our coaching has incorporated the care and growth leadership framework into it. So I think, no, it has changed our outlook at Impala significantly. I mean, the crux of the care and growth leadership model are that you as a leader, you're responsible for the success of your team. And if you're responsible for the success of your team, you are not responsible for the output. You are responsible for the success of your team. So you can only do that by ensuring the growth of the individual team members. So your prime role as a leader is to grow and develop your team members and your team. And then when you do that, obviously they'll become successful. So you very much use the business to grow your people. You don't use the people to grow your business. And I think many leaders today are using people to achieve their business objectives. It is much wiser, I believe, to use your business to grow your people, and thereby you'll just strengthen your business. And I think that's fundamental. If you look at the way a coach views a game, a coach doesn't drive the end score. The coach should be looking at his players to see how their players play the game, to improve their ability to play the game better. And after all, they're the ones on the field, not the coach. So I think many of us need to shift our mindset to one of recognizing that our prime role in a company or in society in general is you'll grow your fellow human, grow and develop your fellow human beings, and that'll make society just a better society.
And I think another good follow-on to that from Victor is how, and I think you mentioned it before, but how do you deal with the resistance from the dominant culture in the company as you try to transform? Maybe you can go into an example or more specific.
Yes.
What can we learn?
Yes. Victor, I actually worked with Victor many years ago. I think it's the same Victor. So I think, you go through a process of can you convince them that they need to change, that there's value in this? Some you can, some you can't. You go through a period of highlighting to them the need to change. You go through a process of highlighting to them that they will actually become extinct. They will be dinosaurs if they cannot change. And hopefully that'll foster the change. And you also, I mean, remember, even those that are battling to change, maybe they don't know how. Maybe they themselves are scared. Maybe they are simply defending themselves. So I think you've got to put a lot of effort into convincing people that there's no need to defend. In fact, the faster you adopt and adapt, the more successful you'll be. But I do recognize that some players just can't change with the time, and they might have to leave your organization. And certainly at Impala, if you don't fit in our culture and you don't recognize that you're on the field to support your fellow colleagues, you'll leave our business. Any successful team needs to make sure all players support one another. And there are those that do leave our business if they do not fit that culture or are unable to change.
And I guess you have mechanisms to try to help people change if they, like you say, struggle with that.
Yes, yes. No, definitely. I mean, no one really embraces change for change's sake. So it's critical that we highlight the need for change and the personal need for change sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. A question regarding COVID-19 lockdown. You know, what has Impala done for the immediate community, and do you feel you've done enough? You know, has the help been adequate?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm personally very proud of how we've managed the COVID-19 pandemic and how we've supported the community. I think right in the beginning we recognized that this will be a massive event, a societal change, and we recognize that, number one, we need to make sure our company remains strong throughout, because if you don't have a strong company, you cannot support anyone if you cannot support yourself. So we did look at how we stay viable throughout the period, to ensure, basically, we ensure our cash flow is positive, and therefore that enables us to support the community. So there are many programs we had in place. I think probably the biggest one, we were able to ramp up and pay our people and continue employment and continue existence. I think Impala puts about we put more than R1 billion a month in salaries into the community. So without that R1 billion a month, I think the community would be a lot different. Then I think, you know, I'm specifically proud of the fact that we supported 33 schools in their startup. You know, the school and the education system came under severe threats. I mean, you know, we have a mine and we have a certain amount of discipline, but I think when you look at schools, how do you start up schools and how do you continue education in this challenging time? There were those that said, well, we should not continue education. I think that is short-sighted and will set your society back significantly. So we took it on ourselves to support 33 local schools. And that was providing, you know, all the initial learners with masks, all the teachers with masks. We totally disinfected these 33 schools. We had programs to work with their heads and their teachers to, you know, change the nature of their school. In other words, the stripes, the hand sanitizers, etc., at the school. So we gave out, I think we gave out 14,000 branded masks to the different people. We've given 260 scanners to the different schools. We've created little books, help books to the community. So the school program was very good. We also had a medical campaign. I mean, we recently provided oxygen to a local field hospital that was set up here. It was ironically set up without any oxygen facilities. So we provided the oxygen. I think that cost us 1.6 million rand in providing that facility. But we've actually purchased 4 ventilators to hand to the various communities. I think it was 90,000 liters of sanitizer that we handed out, 30,000 masks to the community. And I think we gave 70,000 masks specifically to the Royal Bafokeng. So we've done many things on the medical side. Our own capacity in terms of quarantine and isolation beds was significant. It was huge. It was the biggest in the Northwest Province by quite some number. We also had feeding schemes. We've been handing out food parcels in the community with various councillors, but also individually. So food parcels are continuing, and they will continue until the end of this year, and obviously after that we'll evaluate it. We're also here in Rustenburg, all the homeless people. We provided mattresses, blankets, soap, food to all the homeless, and we housed them. We supported them in the mattress. We supported the local mayor in housing and looking after the homeless people in Rustenburg. So you might have seen that they weren't on the streets during this period. And then I think the biggest force was the education awareness in the community. So we supported 2 radio stations locally and 2 in the Eastern Cape, where it was at one time it was 3 times a day, in morning, afternoon, and nighttime. We had education awareness spots on the radio stations. We would tell people about, well, what we are doing, but also how to manage the virus, how to, you know, wash your hands, wear your mask, avoid contact, and things like that. And various poster campaigns as well. The local shops, we handed out to the police, the local shopping centres, and various libraries and community centres. So our posters are all over the place, with I think 4,000 posters distributed to the local community as well. And then something very interesting that a colleague of mine, Puna Prinsloo, has taken on himself to drive, and that's the taxi campaign. So the 3 local taxi associations, we're supporting them. So we've obviously given them the necessary posters and awareness. We've made a little video for them. I think we've given them 1,200 posters. I actually visited the taxi associations, climbed inside taxis. You know, you put the stickers on when it was still 50% seating, and we showed the taxi drivers, you know, how to sanitize, how to be how to counter the virus from that side. So that campaign is still ongoing. We're still working with the taxi associations, recognizing that those taxis transport our people, but also transport society, and this is how it spreads. It spreads by contact in places like taxis and churches and things like that. So we have many campaigns and programs to support the communities around us to fight this virus.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Question has been asked, can you maybe expand on the mining charter and diversity issues, you know, perhaps on how that impacts your company and perhaps your long-term planning?
Yeah, so I think in the presentation I covered that in terms of being compliant. So yes, you can say mining charter and diversity issues. Yes, you must be compliant. But I like to think that what I'm speaking about is not compliance. Compliance is just that, to be compliant and therefore have permission to carry on existing in the society. That's not what we're trying to do. That is a foundation for what we are trying to do. We are trying to go beyond compliance, and I believe there's real value in this diversity. So we're not looking to diversify in our culture because of the charter. We're looking to foster diversity because it adds value to our business, it adds value to society, and I think it transforms and supports society on a much bigger scale than just a mining charter. Think.
Okay, I think you know, there's still a number of questions, but we've really run out of time, and I think we still wanted an opportunity to have you show the video. So unfortunately, we can't. There's a lot of interest, as you can see, Mark. We'd probably keep you here another hour. So I think with that, I'm sorry, we're going to have to, you know, to end it. But if there's any really pressing questions that need to be asked, there is that opportunity through the SIMM that we can send a question and perhaps get an answer to if it's pending. Very important, you know, so we'll look at that. With that, I think the idea is now to have you have that opportunity to show that video that you wanted to do.
Thank you. Yes, unfortunately, I'll have to hand over to a colleague of mine over here. You see, one of the issues with age is you become fairly technologically disabled with time. So I'll hand over to Amy here.
That's why you need diversity.
Exactly, huh? I think there the presentation is starting. August was just the beginning of us to push for an increased diversity and inclusion in our team.
Diversity is what drew me to the mining industry. The fact that there's various career options available made it easier for me.
So Mark, I don't think that young women need different attributes from young men. I think that any individual who wants to make a success of their career in this industry needs to really be a hard worker. You need to persevere.
I've got a few things that I think one could do to advance their careers. One, be a dependable person that can set yourself apart and show that you're a unique person. Secondly, you need to be a person that does everything with the excellence that it comes with. Thirdly, focus on your personal development and be willing to learn from everybody that you cross paths with. And four, have excellence in service. Do everything as excellently as you can. 5, which is last but definitely not the least, have respect for all people, irrespective of their level of seniority in the company.
I believe that for our company to change, for our industry to change, and society at large, it's up to us as leaders to spearhead that change.
It is a privilege to be leading such a diverse, energetic, and winning team. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today. And thank you, team.
Thank you, Mark. I'd also like to thank Impala for also being a sponsor to this month's webinar, which was greatly appreciated by the SIMM. And yeah, once again, thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. It's been both a privilege and an honor talking on this topic. Thank you very much.